What we're going to talk about today is basically the globally harmonized system of classification and labeling of chemicals. Doesn't that sound really sexy and exciting? Okay. I gave Deb some material for you all to look at. If you kind of open up and look at the first page, it'll kind of explain to you kind of why we're all here. It looks like this. There's OSHA fact sheet at the top of it. It looks like this. And what it says is, it says, on December 1st in 2013, the training requirements for the revised hazard communication standard have changed. What it more or less means is this, and I'm going to be honest with you, this is not real exciting information, so I don't want you to get all, but I kind of stick with me because it's very important what I'm going to share with you. Because there are going to be some major significant changes in labeling and material safety data sheets that you're going to have to communicate with your staff by December 1st of this year. So that's why we're all here. And what it basically is this is they have changed. What they're going to do is they're changing the labeling format and the material safety data sheet format, and they're no longer going to be even called material safety data sheets. They're going to be called safety data sheets, or SDS. And what it says is this. It says the OSHA revised its hazard communication standard to align with the United Nations globally harmonized system of classification and labeling of chemicals and published it in the Register. Two significant changes contained in the revised standard require the use of new labeling elements and a standardized format for safety data sheets, formerly known as material safety data sheets. The new label elements and SDS requirements will improve worker understanding of hazards associated with the chemicals in their workplace. To help companies comply with the revised standard, OSHA is phasing it in over several years, starting with December 1st of this year, going all the way through to June 1st of 2016. So you may say, well, good Lord, what are we doing here if it's all going to take till 2016 to get all this done? What's happening is you're going to begin to see some of these changes in the materials you're going to get not only from us, but also from any supplier of chemicals. And that goes just not for food service. That also goes for transportation, maintenance, custodial. They're going to see the same changes. Now, I would bet you $100 that you're going to be way ahead of the curve because most people I've talked to have not even heard of this standard. But you're going to start seeing some of these changes in the next year. But, life is always throwing changes at us, right? And we're either prepared for them or we're not. You can go ahead and cut that back down. And the thing about this is being prepared. What I love about that video, and I'm kind of silly, I watch stuff and I try to learn something just about anything I see. And what Harvey taught me is that you got to be ready. Sometimes you find yourself in situations you don't necessarily want to be in, right? Sometimes you find yourself having to do things you don't necessarily want to do. But a lot of times it's to prepare you for something that could possibly happen. So, that's the reason why we're here. We're here to kind of make sure that we're going to cover some things that hopefully will help you to be prepared for the things that are coming down the road. And basically it's this. We're going to cover the existing right. We're going to talk about the existing right to know law. What they've changed the right to know is they're calling it right to understand now. You're going to see that terminology used a lot over the course of the next 2 years, 3 years. Because what they're saying is that while we've been required to make our employees aware of what's in the workplace, we weren't really required to make sure they understood what we were telling them. Okay? Now the requirement of the next 3 years is going to be that you have to be sure that not only do they know, but that they also understand what you're telling them. So a lot of the materials are being geared towards right to understand. And I'll tell you real quickly what you need to cover before 12/1 with your staff. And everybody look at me, take a deep breath. You know why? Because it ain't that much stuff. Okay? It's real easy. And that's the cool thing that they're doing over this. With this one, the few times I've seen the federal government actually be really prepared for what they're doing is they're taking this and they're giving you time to implement it. It's not over just like that. We're not just flipping a switch and it's changed. So, and I'm going to give you some resources if you want to get aggressive and go learn more, you can do that. The current right to know training is this. Basically, in a nutshell, is employers, you are required to provide effective information and training on hazardous chemicals in your workplace. Now, the beauty of, and don't mean to do a commercial, but the beauty of working with us is that we'll do that for you when we come in, and we'll take care of that when we come in and do that, do our monthly and regular training that we do. But it must be done not at the time of their initial assignment to work. Basically, when they come to work as a new hire, you have to make them aware of what hazards are there, and you also it has to be done as chemicals are changed or as a hazard changes. And this is not changing right now. This is all you have to. It's right to know still applies. All you have to do is make your staff aware. The right to understand is going to be phased in over time. But preparation for right to understand is basically this. Since they're changing and requiring a new label in SDS formats, OSHA specified that employers must provide understandable training on the new approach, basically beginning next year. This training is going to help ensure that workers can access and use the information on the new labels, and new labels are already being produced and coming into the workplace. You're going to start seeing them from us beginning in the spring. Even though the mandate is not till June 1 of 2016, we're going to get ahead of the curve, and a lot of manufacturers are going to get ahead of the curve. And the reason they did this is really simple. We're a global economy now, right? I mean, we're doing business in countries all over the world. Countries all over the world are doing business here. What they wanted is a labeling and a material safety and a safety setup that fit everybody. That if England didn't have theirs, China didn't have theirs, Australia has another one, America has another one. They made it all the same. That's what this treaty was with the United Nations. That was the reason, so that if a manufacturer does ship something in from overseas, it not only meets the requirements here, but it's also labeled properly so your staff or anybody can see what they've got in their hand. Basically, it says that employers have to train the employees on new elements by December 1st of 2013, but the 2013 does not require you to retrain on anything. It just requires that you make them aware of the coming changes, which is what you've got in your hands right now. And the purpose is to ensure that they're going to understand and recognize the new labels and the new materials or the new safety data sheets as they come on board. Does that make sense to everyone? So it's really not that much. So this is what has to happen. You have to basically expose your staff to the new label elements. You have to expose your staff to how the new labels can be used, and expose your staff to the new safety data sheets. Doesn't mean they got to understand. Doesn't mean you got to train them on it. It just means you have to let them know that they could be seeing this in the future. And as they come in, then that's when training will come into play. So, training on new label elements. Basically, you're going to start seeing shipping containers of hazardous chemicals they have to change by July 1st of 2015. But like I said, you're going to start seeing them next year. I know specifically from us, companies like Ecolab and Waxy and other people, I'm sure the bigger companies are going to get ahead of the curve because they don't want to wait till the last minute. Smaller companies, they may very well wait till the last minute. Who knows? Primary change is how information on the labels is going to be standardized. There's certain type of information you're going to have to see, and all suppliers are going to have the same requirements. So you're not going to see different labels from different suppliers. They're all going to sort of have the same look to them, unlike what we have right now. They're going to have this information on it: identifiers, signal words, pictograms, hazard statements, precautionary statements, supplier information, like the name and the address. So if you go to the first page, you see it looks like this. Okay, you're going to see basically it's set up so that you can take this and pass it out to your staff. I set this up in a very specific way so that I took some OSHA info and tried to simplify it. And what it is you can go through and sit down with your staff and just say, okay, this is you can give them this page and say, this is what a new label is going to look like. You need to read it. Sit there with them while they read it. If you want to read it to them, great. But that's your call. But that's the depth of what you have to do on this. You follow? Now, I would recommend, were it me and I were you, I would sit down and take a few minutes and I would read it to them. Make sure that they understand the new label. Because that would cover you completely. Does that make sense? And I set it up in such a way that it's real easy to read. It's not complicated. You can pass this out to them, and this is what a label is going to look like on the new format. Okay, you're going to have product identifier. That's basically going to be your product name and how it's identified. You know, for us, it would be something like SFS Pack All-Purpose Cleaner. Have y'all noticed how complicated the names of our stuff is, by the way? Pot and pan detergent's called pot and pan detergent. Sanitizer's called sanitizer. Y'all are getting it. Okay, yeah, it's real. That would be us. That's what we do. Okay. Another thing you're going to see is you're going to see precautionary statements. These are things that are hazards. You know, things that you need to be aware of. In this particular case, on this example label, things like keep the label closed, store in a cool place, don't breathe the vapors, wear protective gloves, don't eat, drink, or smoke while using the product. Things like that. Precautionary statements. You're going to have hazard pictograms, which is these pictures right here, that are basically going to show you the hazard. And, it's flammable or it's corrosive or the things. And we're going to talk about pictograms in a second. You're going to have another thing on here that's your signal words. And you're only going to have 2 signal words. The product is either dangerous or you need to take, or it has a warning. It says danger or warning. Dangerous means dangerous. And warning means just be cautious with it. All of our products that you get would just say warning because we don't have anything that's dangerous. But the funny thing is, if you ship a case of distilled water to somebody, it'll have a warning label on it. Because it has to have one of 2 things. It has to have either danger or warning. So that's one thing I'm not too sure about. Making sense. Then you've got a hazard statement here, which basically says what the hazard is. And this particular thing, it's highly flammable and could cause liver or kidney damage. That's going to be your hazard statements. And then you've got here your supplemental information, like the directions for use, or how much it weighs, what the quantity is, that kind of thing. So in about 2.5 minutes, I covered this. So you think you can do that? Okay, all right. So now the signal words, you can go. I'm going to get a little bit more detail with y'all, so you can have a little bit more information. I've set this up so you can do it in probably about 15 if you want to. 10 to 15 with your staff. Signal words, like I said, they're used to indicate relative hazard. They're only going to be danger or warning. They're pretty self-explanatory. Danger is the most severe. Warning is for less severe. Pictograms, these are symbols that are going to be used to convey the specific information about whatever hazards may be involved in using the chemicals. And there's 8 pictograms that are designated under this standard that apply to the hazard category. So there they are. And you've got that. If you turn over to the next page, you've got that. You've got the pictograms. So your staff needs to be made aware of this. With the pictograms. And you can go over this now. There's 8 required. So does anybody see a problem with this right now? There's 9. There you go. I wish I had something to give you. That's good. So there's 9. There's 9. Okay, and this one is the one that's not required. That's one that our government is putting on. They want to have something that's specific for the environment. It says any environmental hazards that could be there. But these 8 that you see here are the ones that are going to be required. And it's pretty self-explanatory. If you look at the page that you've got, you can show them this. Simply give this to them, this example of the hazard, the pictograms, and you can read this to them if you'd like. OSHA required pictograms must be in the shape of a yada, yada, yada. Okay? I think there's two sentences there, and that would meet the requirement for covering pictograms. Is everybody okay with that? Now, let's look at the next hazard statements that are on there. The thing I wanted to draw your attention to be very specific, is when any chemical materials, you always want to make sure they're aware of the hazard statement, so that they know that it's that they need to keep what they need to keep away from food, what they need to keep away from fire, those kind of things. Precautionary statements, these are basically things that are just common sense. Let's see. Okay, now again, all this is covered on that first sheet that you got, and I've got it. Step 1. If you notice the top, it's step 1, step 2, step 3, so you know what to cover. And for those of you who don't have time to do it all at once, it's something that you could do over the course of the next 2 months. You could take a couple of minutes here, a couple of minutes there, during a break time or something, if that's whatever works best for you all, because I know you all kind of work differently as that goes. So workplace labels. There are no changes to workplace labels. Bottle labels, like this juice bottle here, the labeling requirements have not changed. They basically are as follows. This doesn't work. So if you have bottles in your kitchen that have got, lime away and bleach or whatever just written on the bottles, that doesn't work. That's not only a violation of what's to come, that's a violation of what's going on right now. So you have to have proper labeling on everything. What we've done is try to provide bottles that are color-coded and also have proper labeling. And on the back, you can't see this, but on the back it's got instructions and 1-800 contact information and the hazard information. That's all the same. None of that's changed. Okay? So you don't even need to worry about it. If somebody asks you, well, what about our bottles? The bottle requirements are the same. Any questions so far? So material safety data sheets are now SDS, or safety data sheets. So you've all heard MSDS, right? They're going to be MSDS from now until the end of time. But the government's going to call them SDS. So that's safety data sheets. For whatever reason, they felt the need to change that. So but now it's called an SDS. So if you see that, just know that they're the same thing now. Now, if you go, this is the current format for a material safety data sheet. This is one of ours. Okay, this is for the SFS Pack All-Purpose Cleaner. And you'll see how it's organized. And this is the way that every material safety data sheet should be organized that you have. The problem is the formatting is different. Every manufacturer, not every, but lots of manufacturers kind of put things in different order. They put them in different places. They don't necessarily have complete information like a 24-hour emergency response phone number like you'll find on ours. You know, something that's in a good prominent area. They don't always have that kind of information. The new material safety data sheets, the new safety data sheets, if you look at step 3, they're gonna look very similar. The information that's going to be is they're going to be organized using a standard order of information, so that any material safety data sheet you have from any manufacturer is going to be organized in the exact same way. And the most important information is going to be listed first. If you notice on this one, first aid information is on the back of the page. And that's the way the federal government has it organized now. On the new SDS, first aid information is going to be on the first page. It's section 4, and if you look at the next page, it'll show you. The next page is step 3. We'll show you. And this gives you an idea what a new safety data sheet is going to look like. It goes from basically 10 sections to 16 sections. There's still going to be 2 pages, I hope. Some manufacturers you may find they might want to go 3 or 4. I know with our sanitizer, usually there's a safety data sheet and then a efficacy sheet that talks about kill times and all that good stuff. So, but that's not going to be part of the safety data sheet program. So anyway, so what you need to do with your staff is show them the label, show them the pictograms, show them the new material or the new safety data sheet, make them aware of the changes that are coming. Does that make sense to everyone? Okay? And it's really pretty much that simple. What I would recommend doing is, one thing I want to show here is that this also, you see colors here. I had the lady ask me a question about this one of the meetings I did not too long ago. It doesn't have to have color. It can be black and white. She was like, oh my God, that means I got to get a color printer, blah, blah, blah. No, it doesn't matter. Black and white's fine. It's just in color on this. So no change right now for anything. Basically, the SDSs, the requirements are very simple. They have to be, they're the same as they were before. They have to be readily accessible to workers when they're in the work area and during each work shift. You all have material safety data sheet books in your cafeterias. You know, your material safety data sheet should be in a very centralized location so that if there ever was an accident or something like that, like in ours, the little white book that we've given y'all, little white, okay. That inside of that has the color-coded material safety data sheets. So, and that has to be accessible. So if there's any, you need to know 2 things: how to very quickly find out who to contact and how to find first aid information. Who to contact should be on the bottle. Our 1-800 emergency response number is on the bottle, but it's also on the material safety data sheet, and that should be for any chemical that you have. Now, distributors and manufacturers are going to be required to provide you with if your staff asks you these questions, and all the things that I'm covering that are not on these step 1, step 2, step 3 pages are on these 2 pages. If you read these 2 pages, you'll be an expert on what you got to do. It'll be very simple, and you seriously can read this in about 5 minutes. It's not very detailed, or it's not very hard reading rather. So manufacturers have to be up to speed by 2015. But you may sell a product by 2015. We've all got to be up to speed by 2016. I'm not going to read this to you because basically this just says that the requirements to have MSDS on hand are the same now, are going to be the same to come as they are right now. So anybody got any questions? So we did that in about 25 minutes. And that was kind of what I wanted to do. I wanted to do it fast because I wanted you to see that even though I put some extra detail in there, this is something that you can do. I've tried to provide you with something. Do you feel like we provided you with something that's kind of easy to follow here? Now let me tell you this is the recommendation. The recommendation is this. Your role as a manager, here it is. Present the OSHA GHS handouts to your staff by 12/1. That's what I just gave you. Black and white copies are absolutely fine. You don't have to have color, so don't feel like you can take them to the Xerox machine up in the office if they'll let you and run copies. I'm not talking about your office, I'm talking about the school office. and make copies for your staff. I would recommend putting this in the hand of everybody rather than going over it with them. That way they can't say that they didn't see it. Because what's going to happen is I've read that fire marshals are going to be marshaled, more or less, to look for this over the coming year, because health inspectors are not going to be going to every location. Not just schools, this is restaurants, this is everybody. Okay, this is not specific to you. This is every place in America that is using any type of hazardous chemical. Can be considered a hazardous chemical. So it's basically anything. Have every staff member sign off on the attendance roster that you've got here. Okay? So they understand the changes are coming and the information has been covered with them. Like I said, they don't have to understand the changes. They have to understand that they're coming and sign that they've been covered. If you look at the top, this basically says, all attendees signing below have had the following items presented to them and understand the mandated OSHA changes coming between now and 6/1 of 2016. Items covered are as follows. New labeling format for chemicals and how they may be used in the food service area. Mandated pictograms along with their meanings and related hazard warnings. Changes coming to material safety data sheets, which will be called safety data sheets after they are revised, including the new 16-section format. So basically, all you got to do is just let them know that those three things are coming. Is that fair enough? Okay. Have them all sign it. This is my recommendation. I would have them all sign it. Put it wherever you file away your training information that you all do. We'll be available to answer questions if you need any help with it. Also, in December, everywhere we go, we're going to start looking to be sure that one of the checkoff things that will be on the December, January, and February checklist will be, is this attendance roster been completed? Because that's, again, we're not there to cause you problems. We're there to make sure that you're protected should that crazy fire marshal who just got a memo from OSHA and feels like he's got something new to talk about, comes in and wants to see your GHS orientation training sheet, and you'll go, oh, well, as a matter of fact, here it is. So this is your staff attendance roster. We showed you that, so you've got that. Now, if you're really aggressive and you want to get more information, and you just want to read more, I know some of you in here, you may be like me. I can't have enough info on something new. I want to make sure that I've got my bases covered. You can go to the OSHA HAZCOM webpage. Just type in OSHA HAZCOM and Google it, and it will take you straight to this page. Over here is a bunch of hot resources. You can click on those things. It'll take you to all kinds of information that you can use. And as you're looking through their information, you'll say, oh, well, that's where he got that. That's where he got it. What? And then OSHA's developed a whole bunch of guidance stuff that you can go look at. I mean, a whole array of things that are tools that you can use. As we get, this is going to be on. We're going to be talking about this for the next 3 years. This is going to be. I foresee about every 6 months having something new that we'll have to talk about on this for at least the next couple of years, as the changes and the things begin to come into play. Kind of like when we did Right to Know. Was anybody been around? I mean, I've been in this business for 25 years, so I remember when they did Right to Know, and it was going to be very similar to that kind of thing. And here's some of the web pages if you want. But like I said, you can just type in OSHA and HAZCOM, and it'll take you to all this stuff. You can find it yourself. So, any questions? Okay, you feel like you can do this? Okay, everybody look at me. You feel like you can do this? Feel like you can do this? Okay, so understand this. It's not that all you have to do is get them to sign this sheet, okay? Make sure that you just kind of curse. If I was going to spend any time on anything, I'd spend it on this, okay? To make sure that they understand what the new, because this is the first thing you're going to see. The first thing you're going to see from manufacturers is going to be labels, because that's the easiest thing for them to comply with, is going to be labeling, okay? I wouldn't spend a whole lot of time on pictograms. I just wouldn't. You know, you go over them. You know, you can just let them know. You know, what's the funny one here, Wesley? The flame over circle, or, exploding bomb. You know, there's one here that says exploding bomb. You know, you can go, but I wouldn't spend a lot of time on that. This quick reference guide here, I would just give this to them. I wouldn't spend a lot of time. Hey, ladies, like, give me a couple more minutes. Okay, I wouldn't spend a lot of time on this sheet. This is really just so that if you had any questions about a specific section, you got it. And all I would do on this is just make them aware that this is what they're going to be looking at with new material safety data sheets. And like I said, if we're blessed and able to work with y'all, as these come in, we're going to make sure you know what they are, because we'll cover them with you. Okay, but you just want to make sure that they understand that they're coming, and that's the depth of what you got to do. Okay, so That's it. All right, thank you very much. I appreciate it.